Today we're going to be talking about a place that's very special to my heart, Delta Lake Bible Conference Center. We're going to discuss some of the opportunities that are available to us as a church and some of the cool stories of how God has used this camp, not only in my life, but in the lives of so many people. Let's talk about our own personal camp right up the road. Okay, talk about one of my favorite topics.
All right, Dave, go ahead.
Well, we're talking about Delta Lake today. So Delta's got some cool history with this church, and we wanted to talk about it because we partner with it so much. It's in our backyard. There's so much history. There's so much overlap between what God has done there and here, and just how valuable of a ministry that is. So we thought
Absolutely.
we could talk about it today.
Yeah. Well, Dave, you're on the board at Delta Lake. I know that. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the history.
Sure. So Delta Lake just celebrated its 100 years. So we have been around for 101 years, you could say. And it started with a farmer he was basically asking, who am I going to sell this plot of land to? It's by a lake. So obviously, even back then, that was decent real estate, right? But he wanted it to be used for godly purposes. So our district here in New York stepped up and bought the land to use for ministry. So it would have conferences, they would have camps, they do all kinds of fun stuff. And it expanded over the years to include more and more of the activities that you see today. But I had the privilege of being able to put together a documentary right before the 100th year family camp. And I unfortunately couldn't include all of the testimonies that I'd heard, but there were so many of just people saying the same kind of thing. I gave my life to the Lord. And you had, older people saying, I dedicated my life to the Lord. Younger people saying the same thing. Baptisms with black and white pictures. And then you got baptisms today, with 4K video. I mean, it's just so cool to see how God is still using that for his purposes and for his glory. And that's what makes Delta Lake special and set apart. You have people praying for the camp, and people have prayed for that camp for decades and generations. And God is still using it to this day. So it's a very special place for ministry. And the tabernacle was one of the things that they used to build in a lot of these camps. They made these giant tabernacles, and they would have these services there. So Delta does have a long history. It's right around the corner from the district office for the northeastern district of the CMA, which is our denomination. So that's kind of like the Albany of our district, if you will, up there.
Good point. I like that comparison.
Yeah.
So the conference center, or the idea of our whole district getting together once a year to have Bible talks, Bible study,
Yes.
encouragement for believers. This is the reason that Delta Lake got started. Am I right?
Yeah, so the idea there was camps and conferences and things like that. And it's also so much fun for everybody. I mean, my family and I go up to that playground often because it's a nice playground. I actually helped disassemble it and put it on a truck, and then they put it back together. That red playground. It was my first ever job. It was my first ever year. So when my kid is playing on it, I just think to myself, how cool is this, right? That when I was a 16-year-old, I was taking this thing apart, and now my kid is playing on it here at Delta. But there's so many activities for everybody. And you can be built up in your faith by the speakers. You can enjoy the community. There's people that have cottages there that they spend months in, or just even 1 week a year. You can have a trailer up there. You can, enjoy the camps that are coming, the different variety of camps. It's just such an edifying experience.
Yeah, we were all required when I first came to the church to work at least 1 week at Delta Lake. And that could be at family camp, or in my case, it happened to be a teen camp where I was able to teach golf. And so,
cool.
Yeah, it was cool. But Delta Lake has been, for me, a great place, but the history of it is fascinating because that farmer you're talking about, apparently he sold the property to the district for like $10,000 or something like that.
Because he wanted them to use it. So
I think one was at 19 in the early 20s.
1924.
I don't know how many acres, Dave, he sold, but even for that year, the price was ridiculously low. So God was obviously working in a powerful way even then.
Yes.
And as you say, they first met, they just drove to the site, and many of them just simply set up their own tents.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they met in tents
Hmm.
apparently for quite a while until
Hmm.
those buildings you mentioned
Hmm.
began to be built. When were those buildings built?
Various times. So the one that I know about, because it's as old as me, is the Delta Center. The Delta Center was yeah. The Delta Center was made in 1992.
Yes,
So
yes.
when you started here at Plymouth and when I was born, not to make you feel old or anything, but
And the Delta Center is not only where people eat their food,
mhm,
the dining area, but it's
mhm.
also in the main, well, the lower level. It
Yeah,
houses rooms where you can have conference
yeah,
sessions and
yeah,
breakout sessions and
yeah.
so on.
And they have different. The one of the rooms is I call it Canadian Delta because it's called Delta A, and then there's Delta B. It's the snack shack.
Hmm.
They used to have the dining hall. I believe I could be corrected on this, where the registration building is now. And I think that tabernacle is very old. I'm
Got
pretty
to
sure that's
be
been around
put
for
up in the 30s or 40s.
very likely
Uh,
because that was what they used in a lot of the Alliance,
yeah,
and I'm sure other Christian groups built these tabernacles for camps. And the purpose of camp was to say, retreat, get away from it all, and or at least get away from where you're at. You have some dedicated time with the Lord. They have speakers, worship, things like that, and that's been going on for over 100 years now.
that's amazing. And really, what a great opportunity for our Plymouth Alliance people who are listening. And I know it's getting later on in what we call family camp, but family camp is something put on by Delta Lake Bible Conference,
Hmm.
which morning and evening there are speakers
Hmm.
bringing the word of God to you.
Hmm.
There are different activities for children during the day.
Yeah.
And Dave, how would you suggest to our PAC people, if they're interested in finding out between now and July 4th when family camp ends,
Hmm.
how would they find out what events are going on?
That's a great question. So you can go on their Facebook page. They post a lot of the events. They'll post some of the advertisements for what's coming up, but you can also go on their website. That's the main one I'd point people to. If you really want to know what's going to happen and what is happening, go to deltalake.org and
DeltaLake.org.
go to deltalake.org and you'll see schedules, you'll see prices, things like that. And the point of family camp is to grow with your family.
Yeah.
And you've got now I'm thinking as a parent, there is childcare and the morning, for example, or you've got a lot of time in the morning for Bible hour, things like that. And you can drop your kids off at childcare, you can pray, you can get fed, you can just take a walk with the Lord or with your spouse.
It's a great way to be refreshed in the
Hmm.
Lord.
And they've got all kinds of different activities for the kids. I
Yeah.
mean, the schedule is packed with different things
Yeah.
that you can do. So it's a real smorgasbord of stuff that you can enjoy. And beyond family camp, they have teen camps. And the teen camps, I mean, I grew up going to these teen camps. I grew up going to this camp. It was a very big part of our family's tradition. And that was where I felt the call to ministry. That was where I met a lot of, actually, that was my first interaction with Plymouth,
Mm.
really, was a bunch of the guys that you guys probably know very well, Seth Brewster, some guy named James
Swaggin.
Swaglin, something, I don't know. But he's you probably bumped into him before. And Caleb,
Weimer?
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I
Caleb Wimmer.
some
Weimer.
German last name, something
Yeah.
it's hard to pronounce. So yeah, a couple of those guys, and so I met this crew. I was a counselor for a big group from Plymouth, basically, and I gotten to know them over the years, and then got connected here, and felt that call to Plymouth. And the fun thing is the connectivity between Plymouth and Delta, and I've always loved that.
Yeah.
But also it benefits us as well.
It
If I
does.
need to, do a retreat or something, I just call up Delta and they work with me.
This is the purpose for Delta Lake. It's called a para-church organization.
Yes, that's right.
And people say, well, is Delta trying to take away from what Plymouth does? And the answer is no.
No.
The word para-church has to do with para is a Greek word which means come alongside. So
Okay.
this ministry comes alongside the local church
That's cool.
and provides the camps that you're talking about. And so parents, if you've got a child, even now, I believe it's finished third grade,
Yes, that's my
finished
understanding of it.
third grade through
Through all the
sixth.
way up to 12th, if you,
Yeah,
depending on the week you go.
I'm not sure. It's still 1 week, but two separate camps.
Well, yeah, it's 1 week, but all the camps will rotate and do everything, the
Yeah.
various activities
So if you
that
have a
week.
child, whether that child has finished third grade or all the way through high school, as Pastor
Mhm.
Dave said,
Mhm.
call Delta Lake
Mhm.
because really the price is fairly reasonable. Parents, just if you're interested, call our church office at 315-363-5642 and check out that possibility.
Because, if there's any financial need, I'm sure we can try to help out with that too.
Yes. And
hmm
our job as a church is to make disciples.
That's right.
And when we encourage people to go to Delta Lake, to
hmm
hear the speakers, to study the Word of God, to be more active in prayer and worship,
hmm
that's what helps make a disciple. Because you can't follow Jesus and be his disciple without knowing his word and without spending extra amounts of time rather than just 30 seconds throwing up a prayer,
Mm.
spending like you're suggesting. There's an actual prayer room.
Yeah, little chapel.
And I think sometimes Christians, if you're listening, we need to get alone with God for more than 10 minutes. We need to spend more time in prayer with him.
hmm
And at first you might think, oh, that's overwhelming. How am I going to talk to God for an hour? Well, this is what he wants. And this is why Delta is so valuable
Yeah,
because we need to take time to get away from our routine
yeah.
to be able to connect with God.
And it's up the road. People get excited about a camp alone or any activities for the family. Well, this gives you that opportunity. Plus, it's biblical,
Yeah.
it's Christian, and you have a chance to. I mean, even some people just say, "I like to catch the evening speakers," and this week they've got I don't know, they got some Browns fan whose last name is Richter.
He's an
But
excellent
yes,
communicator.
he
That's for
is.
sure.
Actually, he's my cousin. He's very good. He's
Yeah.
very good. But he didn't. You didn't hear that from me.
No,
Yeah.
Delta Lake too. I think if you're listening and you're saying, well, how can I serve God? I don't have a speaking gift. I don't have a teaching gift or a preaching gift. How can I serve God? Delta Lake might be a great place, Dave.
hmm
We know people who are have a background in nursing whom Delta Lake can use during their summer
Absolutely.
camps. Here, probably to help in the kitchen, help at
Absolutely.
the waterfront.
Maintenance. You've got one thing that I always recommend every teenager should do at least once is work with Haven Camp. These adults with special needs, you're taking them from place to place like you would a VBS or even with the other counseling. You're taking them from place to place and you're able to be with them. You will play games with them. You'll be in the activities with them. You'll serve them food. And you get to meet these people.
Hmm.
And it's a very good opportunity. The reason I say for teens is because I think it's always important for people to interact with this population that is often unreached or overlooked.
Yes, absolutely. And the special needs people, they have great joy when they worship God. And maybe it's their only time they get to hear about what Jesus did on the cross. And
hmm
I don't think any of us want to minimize the work the Holy Spirit could do to help one of those persons meet Christ, meet the Lord in salvation.
Yeah, my first job was at camp, and it was a great opportunity to to learn. I mean, to have my first job, but to do it in an environment where you are around other believers. And I mean, again, you'd go down to the kitchen. You could work in the kitchen. You could work maintenance. You could be a counselor for teens or Haven Camp. You
Mhm.
could do the waterfront. Even just moving the boats around, they could use help.
Yeah.
You could do if you're good at cleaning. There's a lot of that needs to go around.
Yeah. So
There's
would
so
you
many.
recommend that people call the Delta Lake Bible
Yes,
Conference Center office?
I would. I
Uh,
would. If you want to volunteer, if you want to work, if you want to do any of that stuff. And like I said, it's right up the road, and I would love for us at Plymouth to say that's our camp. That's
yeah.
our camp. And
Yeah.
I think we have in the past, and I'd love to do more. So if there's any families that haven't tried it out, I mean, even just checking out family camp, just go to the registration building and,
Yeah.
say, hey, we just want to be here for however long, and what do we need for that? And
And
just enjoy.
this family camp, what Dave and I are talking about right now, Delta Lake, this is just one of the things, one of the ministries they provide each year.
hmm
And it's going on as we speak. And
That's right.
one of the evening services is at 7 p.m.
Yep. And you'll bump into other Plymouth people.
Yeah. Oh, Misty and I have been up there in the evenings. Just take a 30-minute drive. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable time. You learn a lot. You get a chance to worship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could I suggest too, take an offering with you. Give generously to
Mm-hmm.
Delta Lake
That's good.
because the ministry is, as you all might imagine, with buildings, with upkeep, it takes resources.
Mm-hmm. It's cool looking at the history. If anybody's ever heard of A.W. Tozer, he actually spoke there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a video somewhere of him walking the grounds and just the legacy that has been there
I
and
think
over the
someone
years.
had a tape, a cassette tape of Tozer speaking at Delta
Yeah,
Lake.
that's so
Yeah.
crazy. That's so cool. So my old youth leader used to say that Delta Lake is holy ground. But I really do believe that. That place is prayed over.
Yeah,
And
God has chosen to work there throughout decades to bring people not only to salvation, but to a deeper walk with Him too.
mm-hmm. So
Thank you, Dave, for talking about Delta Lake.
yes, take a look at their website, and if you have any questions, come to us, and we'll be happy to
That's
answer.
deltalake.org.
Yes.
Deltalake.org.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.